I guess we can get started. Welcome everybody to 3D Club. If you're watching this recording, you're already 5 minutes late because there was a bunch of pre-show banter where we already got into it about AI. If unless you've been hiding under a rock, and even if you have been hiding under a rock, you've probably heard about AI. It's infiltrated every aspect of our life. Some of it seen, some of it not seen. You probably get a lot of it, stories about it from the media. It's one of those things where it's capable of a lot of very good things, and it also has some dark sides and downsides. Not the least of which are it's pretty energy intensive and water intensive. So go ahead. But was that Buck?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry. But on the positive side, it's very powerful and it's a very useful tool. Before the show, we've had a lot of opinions already on how it's influencing culture and the way we perceive the world. And I think we could probably have an entire show where we talk about those issues. But what I'm really interested in is in the ways that it can be used as a problem-solving tool or a tool for accomplishing tasks that you can imagine but maybe don't have the skills to accomplish in the computer world. So we're going to start there, and we can have a more philosophical conversation about it later if time allows. But I'm joined today by Buck Van Laarhoven. Welcome, Buck.
Hey, everyone.
And then we've got some other members in the audience who have experience in this. Ted Bergstrand and Dom, you have experience in this realm too as well, don't you? Yeah. And so I'm gonna start off with Buck, but I would hope that everybody that wants to chime in and share their experiences will do so. And feel free to set me straight if I get something wrong. But we're gonna start with you, Buck. So one of the things that I really like about AI, and I'm mostly talking about ChatGPT and Claude, is that it gives me the ability to do some programming that I don't have the skills to do. I have a basic understanding of HTML, and I'll give my age away. And I learned to program in BASIC when I was in high school. So, that's about the extent of my knowledge of programming. At this point, if you gave me a program and told me what it did, I could kind of look through there. I might be able to identify, oh, this is where it's doing this, or this is where it's doing that. But it's nowhere near comprehensive enough to make an app or a functional web page. And I think all of us have probably been to the StuMac website 1,000 times just to use the fret calculator, right? That is a tool that gets used by everybody, and you have come up with an app that I think has that same sort of universal appeal. The fret size research tool. Can you talk a little bit about what it is and how to use it?
This is another thing that kind of stemmed from Doug Proper's workshop as far as ideas go in my head. Seeing Doug talk about how he would route fret slots and size them up to different tang widths, I kind of had that aha moment, and he had that spreadsheet hanging on his wall. So that's actually where it started. Is I said, "Hey, Doug, can I get a copy of your spreadsheet? I want to compile that into kind of like a searchable tool." And then I took it a step further and added all of Symptoms and all of Dunlops and all of Black Stars, and basically just tried to make a giant collection of all these fret wires from all these different suppliers with the tang size, which some suppliers that's a little hard to find. And basically, I just kind of threw all that info into AI and just kind of kept kicking it until it made something that worked nicely. So that way you can just kind of search, like, I need 24 thousandths width tang slot, and it should be about this width and about this height, and then it'll kind of prioritize, give you your different options and who the suppliers are.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have it available to share, or would you like me to bring
Yeah,
it up?
I was pulling it up on my other computer, but it's honestly probably easier for me. Yeah, let me go to my other computer. Hang on.
I can throw it in the chat for you, Buck.
Okay, it's here, it's tinyurl.com. Oh, is that
Yeah,
it?
I just pasted it in. Well, I
Oh,
pasted a hard link, but
well, easy enough then. Okay, let me share my screen. Oh, Fretwire. Okay, can you guys see me? Am I sharing?
Yep, there it is.
Okay, my window's a little funky looking right now, but okay. So basically you can kind of like right here, pick your tang size. So let's say you wanted 24,000. You can kind of set the tolerance, like how close does it need to be? Your target crown width, the tolerance for that, and then your target height. So according to this, it's saying the best option would be this one. Although one of the things I wanted to tweak about it was the fact that I wanted to always prioritize a thicker tang, because you don't want to put in a thinner tang into a slot. I'd rather have a wider one and open it up. So like this one right here from Antique Electronic Supply, that's probably not one I would have ever thought to go search for. I don't even honestly know where it pulled that one up from. I think that was just I sent AI on a mission to do some research on its own too, and this is one that it found.
Well, let,
STUMAC
well,
wires.
well, well, let's talk about that, because I think probably a lot of people, or some of our viewers haven't played with the AI.
Mhm.
Um, which AI were you using, and what sort of prompt did you give it to gather this information?
On this one, let me get back. On this one, I believe I was mainly using ChatGPT in agent mode. So basically, I would actually set. I don't know if you guys have used all this stuff. Um, Essentially, what I would do is input all the information and then put it into agent mode, and that opens up a virtual machine on their end and basically goes and does all that research. So it would log on to these different companies' websites, and I pointed it in some directions. I said, make sure you include this company, and this company, and did a deep dive. I had it check it and everything, and um, I was pretty happy with what it came back with in this scenario.
Yeah.
It's worked pretty well, like finding wire.
Did it
Um,
come up with like that antique supply? Did it come up with things that you didn't point it at, and it
that
found on
that's
its
one
own?
it found on its own.
Okay.
Because that one I did not input. The ones I input was the Black Star Jazz car. I made sure it got STUMAC, all parts. All the common ones that we use and use. I made sure it inputted Doug's list. I don't know if Doug has it on his. I don't think he does. It could have gotten it from there, but
Yeah.
I think it found that one.
Did you do any verifying of the information? One thing I've noticed is that in some cases things will creep in
I
through
didn't
the
I didn't verify every single fret wire. That's also part of the reason I put beta on the
yeah.
on the URL. Um, I haven't found any issues yet. A lot of the stuff I put in was spreadsheets I downloaded
Yeah.
from the website. So some of that I had actually like input some spreadsheets and gave it some data, like Doug's and a few others. I think Dunlop had a spreadsheet I put in. It was a little bit ago when I made that app, but yeah.
And then your prompting, were you just using everyday language? I'd like it to do this. I'd like it to do that kind of.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
the most part. And then kind of just going back and I'd touch like if there was something I didn't like, because I can tell you the first few versions looked atrocious compared to the current version. There were no sliders, there were no things. So like using words like that, like I want to see it with sliders and adjustability and you know, I took a few versions to get at that. And I think I was also using the canvas within ChatGPT. So that way it's not like making a whole new code every time it just edits it. And then you get kind of like a window you can preview it in.
Yes.
That was working really well for that.
Yeah, I've been using that feature in Claude, and that really speeds things up and reduces the amount of.
Yeah, if I could just ask a basic question, Buck, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you're running this in a browser. So did you ask the tool to do an HTML-based output and then you containerized this and loaded it into a server, or how are you handling the packaging of the output?
Right now, the way that we're viewing it right now is on a server, but the intention was to get it on the Looth group site. It actually, it is on the Looth group site, so I wanted it in HTML because we
Right.
could host it there. I used a separate hosting site for the ones that I did, though. So
Okay,
that's how I achieved like the Shim calculator and the FretWire finder and all those.
right.
I'd have to go back and look exactly which one I used. ChatGPT helped me find a good free one to use for that. But yeah, it's nothing paid or anything. So
Thank you.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, I think it's a super useful tool. It brings into one place something that I used to have to hunt around in an incredible number of places, and not near as comprehensively. So I think that's really cool. Trying to think. And then so I looked a little bit at some of the other calculators you have. You have a lot that focus around next shims.
that's all for the most part based around David Collings' spreadsheet that he made. So I can't take credit for the math on that. I think I had AI come up with, I think the Martin Shim calculator to see which Martin Shims to put in. But beyond that, everything else is David Collings. Basically, I just took that spreadsheet, it worked well. I was just trying to get something that maybe was a little bit more like user friendly and something we could like post onto the onto the Looth group website. Like I used I made one because I have the parametric file for doing the full pocket neck shims. So I made one to kind of pair with that to figure out the degree that you'd want for which I use, for doing setups quite regularly, that package right there.
You want to pop it up on the screen, and we'll take a look at it and talk about what it can do.
Yeah. Let me, sorry, I'm on my laptop here, which is, let me hop over to my other one here. All right. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is kind of like the full blown out version. I have one that's just for the electric bolt-ons. But this is the whole one. So basically you input your scaling, the change that you want at the 12th fret, and what fret number it meets at the body joint. And then it gives you all these different, information. So that the Taylor NT joint's been quite a time saver in my shop as far as taking guesswork away from trying to find what shim you need for Taylors. And that, in my experience, has been pretty spot on as far as which shim you need. But yeah, figuring out the exact degree of the full pocket shims and then putting that in for the parametric file, it's been awesome. Basically just within a couple of minutes, I have a custom shim and like popping in on a cheaper setup and stuff. It's fantastic. And I can't see any difference between using the plastic full pocket ones and wood. I think it's equally as hard and functionally as good.
It's really slick. And so did you actually upload the spreadsheet and then ask it to organize it in this way, or what was the process to get from the
Yes.
spreadsheet to here?
I had to unhide the formulas when I did it. So there was a setting I did so it showed the formulas instead of the output of the formulas. But
Okay.
once I let it see basically the math that he'd came up with, which I have no idea how he came up with that math, it was far beyond me. Thank you, David. It started working. I was having some bugs in the beginning, but I was able to work out the kinks. So
Oh, that's very cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
Yeah,
And then
trying to make something easy. Like I noticed how cool what David made was, and I feel like I felt like it wasn't getting enough attention.
yeah, oh, that's really slick. Any tips or tricks, on the to speed up the coding process? I had in my experience, there's a lot of back and forth, but after a little while, you start to be able to structure your prompts in a way that are going to speed up the process, so you don't have to have so much back and forth.
Well, with anything, once you find something that works, you can ask it to like output you a prompt to give a new chat. So like once you get it kind of behaving the way that you want, say like, can you export me like a PDF that's, or, just like some type of like mission statement that's going to give us this exact type of conversation and this type of output. So you can save yourself that training every time. And basically you can have just like a pre-upload thing for you that's like, this is how you like to code things and this is how you like things to look. If it's something fresh, then you just kind of learn to talk with it. But
Yeah. Is that mostly from like a visual stylistic standpoint, or?
it could be both. Like if you're a person that likes toggles over, sliders or, that would be a visual thing. But I mean, I haven't dug too deep into, like major things. Like these are the the extent of it. So I haven't gone, doing like full. My friend did this suite, which was really impressive to find phone numbers using like emails.
Mhm.
And I was able to find some phone numbers. It was pretty wild. And it was emails.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, but yeah, he does sales, so it's basically this lead generator. But his had his whole like accounts and credits, and it was a paid service that he basically made.
Yeah.
Anyways, be
Well, how
patient with
about,
it's the main thing.
yeah, so that's sort of apps and coding. Do you find that you're using ChatGPT in other ways in your shop?
Yes. I use it for, I'm terrible at like grammar and spelling. So, I've got it really trained on my messaging and just generally how I talk. So I've spent like, some good amount of time training it on how to talk about guitars. So basically I can kind of point it in the direction I can get pretty professional messages that sound more like me pretty proficiently and save me a lot of time.
So as a
It's-
communication tool.
Yeah, especially with
Yeah.
dealing with all the drop-off spots that I deal with and everything. It's a lot of texting.
Okay. Yeah. Very
Um,
cool.
Buck, which version of ChatGPT are you using, and do you have a subscription that you use?
I,
In
I
particular?
I do have the subscription and I typically just use whatever's the, more flagship at the time. Occasionally I'll change it into like agent mode or, deep research, but 90% of the time I'm just kind of doing the automatic recommended,
Okay,
which I think the new version kind of takes your prompt and picks which model's the best for you from,
right,
no,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and just to follow up on something you said, James, regarding prompting, there's quite a lot of information on the internet about best practices and how to format your prompt structures to get to the output you want. So you'll have to play around with a format of asking your questions to see which format gets you closest to the answer that you want to get, and then you can iterate with that in somewhat of a conversational manner to
Yeah.
refine the output sequentially there. So there are right and wrong ways to prompt. So you could save yourself a lot of hassle by looking at some best practice guidelines beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I've noticed is that, if you say, I'm looking to build a website to do this, and you give it a little piece of information, it almost wants to start coding immediately. And so I'll have to give it a prompt to say, okay, I want to have a conversation about what I want it to do before we actually start, generating code.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Telling it its
I can jump
purpose
in.
is a very important thing.
Yeah.
You got to kind of tell it what its job description is first.
Yeah.
Hey,
If I can jump in real quick, one of the things, if you're just like trying to start an AI coding project, don't just like, here's my idea, I want to make a thing. Tell it you want to pseudocode first. And that's a term that developers have been using since the Stone Age. That it's just like, we're going to use plain English to describe what we want to have happen so that we can kind of get a big picture of things, and then we can attack it piece by piece. And by doing that, it'll kind of create a mind map essentially for you, which you can look through, and it's way easier for you, the non-technical person, to look at the plain English and be like, wait, that doesn't make sense to me, than if it's spitting out code at you and you go, oh, that's not working. Oh shit, I don't know why is that not working? It can really help to preempt all that with plain English first. Pseudocode.
Pseudocode. Okay.
Hey,
Hey, but can you unshare? Oh, there, perfect. Yeah, I one strategy that I sometimes use is, I'd say, I'm looking to do this. Will you ask me a series of questions to clarify what you think that I'm trying to do? And that will then get the plan for the code in place before it actually starts coding. Dom, what is your background in using AI?
Sure. Thanks, James.
Sure.
So I recently retired after 31 years in academic medicine and drug development. So I'm a biochemist, a molecular biologist by training, but ran a medical writing team for 31 years. And my recent job the last 3 years was AI strategy and operations lead for a global major pharmaceutical company. So my job there was to work with technical teams to develop tools for document writing. My teams were the few people who wrote, the tens of thousands of pages of reports that go to the FDA in support of new drug applications and things of that nature. So what I've done separate from that, so that's where I got my foot in the door, so to speak, on the technology side. And like you, James, I go back to BASIC and APL and Fortran and some C++ and dabbling in all of those various things. But I've used AI in particular to make small project management tracking systems, to look at ways to compile information and give me an app that I could use and do different tasks that I need compiled and things of that nature. And similar to what Buck did, I would typically stay with HTML output because it works easily in a browser and it's fairly portable between systems because it's browser based. So I come to applied technology from the writer's perspective mostly, and I will tell you, when you go from electrons to documents back to electrons again using these kinds of tools, it changes the game completely because these are mathematical tools and statistical algorithms to give us information. They're imperfect because they're made by people, right? And the information going in was human derived, so it's going to vary on the output regardless. And that's where the hallucinations come from and things you might have heard about the variability of the error. It's only going to be as tight as the information it was given to learn on. And then you can refine that by prompting in sequence, as we've talked about. So that's a little bit about where I'm coming from as far as the technical side is concerned. And one thing that you can consider, aside from the public ChatGPT, there are a variety of local, that is your own personal system, computer-based LLM platforms that you can load on your computer and run it fully internal to your own system and not talk to the internet or not talk to anything outside your computer. So if you wanted to input information that's your own information and you don't want it to go to anyone else or get absorbed onto the AI brain of OpenAI, for example, you could run a local LLM on your own computer and do much of the same things that we're talking about here. Now, they're smaller, they're not quite as powerful, they may take a little bit more time to process information, but it gives you a contained environment in which to operate. So one of those to look at is called LM Studio. You can look that one up and see about what to do there. And you can download the actual LLM engine itself. It saves in your computer and you can run it from there. So you can play around with it in somewhat of a quasi-protected environment, so to speak. So variety of different experiences here, James.
Does it require a particularly large computer or specialized equipment to to be able to run that?
No, they're made to run on personal computers. Just so you know, I'm running the newest Dell Alienware gaming laptop with the biggest processor they sell, and I'm running 32 gig of RAM. I'm considering putting 64 in and doubling that to make it a bit better because it uses up about 85% of my RAM when I'm running the LLM. So if I want to let that run in the background and do something else at the same time, my system's going to slow down. But to be candid, another 32 gig of RAM is pushing $600. It's expensive. So it's a choice I have yet to make.
Yeah, yeah. And so you're working on project management type stuff.
Yes.
And is that all locally run, or is your intent to make that available as a product?
No, I'm not looking to sell any product like that, but if I get an app that's self-contained and will run outside my system on a web page, I'm certainly happy to share it. It's nothing proprietary going on here, what I'm doing now. I'm no longer employed with any other main companies, so what I do is my own business.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, cool. And so Ted, you put in the chat a place to look at those local.
Oh yeah, Hugging Face. That's where all the open source models go.
Okay, is that something that you use as well?
Yeah. So I got a big honking graphics card in my computer. Like Don was saying, it's very memory intensive. These days, you don't necessarily need the graphics card. There are ways to shift that load onto system memory, like he was talking about. But in order to hold the model, basically, it needs to store it in memory. And these things, they have small ones that they've made that run on your phone, that sort of thing. And then there are massive ones, like the ones that power ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or any of those. Like you need a server farm to run those. So there are any sort of scale in between.
Yeah.
And like the easiest way, if you're just Joe Schmo, to try and do a local model is going to be called Ollama. Let me see if I can pull up the website here for you guys, but it makes it about as brainless as you can do it. It used to be kind of complicated, and you pretty much had to run it on Linux. But these days, the new Apple Silicon apparently runs a lot of these really well. I don't own a Mac, so I can't vouch for that personally. But you can do all kinds of things like that. Is it worth it? I don't know. It's up to you. If it's cold in your house and you want to make some heat, it's a good way to kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. And I genuinely look at it like that. Like if it's cold in my house, I go, okay, what's my backlog of 3D printing stuff, or what's my backlog of like dumb data AI stuff to churn through, and I'll just let the computer heat things up. But the smaller models are dumber. Just no buts about it. They'll be slower and they'll be dumber than the flagship models that you're getting from the big boys. But it is fun to play with, especially image generation. If you run image generation models, those are super neat, and you get to just play finger paint basically.
Ted, you make a good point. I want to qualify the description though. Dumber is a subjective term, and I would posit that my OpenAI GPT OSS is running 20 billion parameters right now locally, right? So while that's not a small number, it is less than the Open ChatGPT flagship models will provide, no question about it. But again, it depends what you want to do with it, right? If you're going to do something that's heavily process intensive and very complex, a smaller model is not the right thing to use. If you're going to do something that's going to take spreadsheets and do a compilation or do some sort of calculation type thing repetitively, smaller models may be perfectly adequate. So again, I try to take it from the standpoint that you need to know what the tool will do and what is fit for the purpose at hand, right? You don't necessarily need, a sledgehammer if you're putting in a brad nail, right? So you have to think about how you want to apply that and go from there. So I agree with you completely.
Absolutely.
However, if you're not familiar with these things, don't be turned off by how people may talk about things, because each of these things has a fit purpose.
Yeah, the reason I bring it up is because if you're building like your own system around something and you're using local models, your product will 100% be inferior than if you build your system out on a big boy model, just from the amount of data that it's trained on, the recency of the data it's trained
Sure.
on, the available tools that are built into these now. Like your local models, you're probably not going to be scraping new data. Like Buck said, he had ChatGPT looking for fret wire. Like you're not doing that with Olama unless you're actually writing some back end code to do it.
No, absolutely right. No,
so-
that's completely right. And
So
that's exactly
if you just want like basic question asking stuff or like talking about things or working through stuff, the local models are awesome for that. But if you build a system around something like that and you don't have the hardware when you need to scale up, like if you
Mhm.
actually want to do something, then you have to build a whole new like system of how you work around a new
Correct.
platform.
No,
And that's the
absolutely
big
right.
problem with all the providers, right? Is you kind of wall yourself into one garden.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to break out of that. And that's
Right.
their business model.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd like to bring it back out to a bird's eye view again, and talk a little bit about what they are capable of doing. I was really pretty blown away because I was pretty late to the party. Um, I don't know if I started using these 6 or 8 months ago, and I had no idea about the capabilities of it. I thought I would show, and basically the way I figure out what the capabilities are is I just ask it, "Can you do this?" And almost invariably the answer is yes. Sometimes it's yes, but you get down that road and you realize, well, that wasn't really quite what I thought what was going to come out of this. But um, it's a pretty welcoming and easy environment to just go in and ask a few questions and start getting some ideas for things that you want to accomplish. I thought I would share a couple of the things. Uh, my goal on a lot of this stuff is making, either solving a problem in my shop with, say, a CNC machine or a 3D printer or something like that, or accomplishing a task that maybe takes me a little bit of time, but that the AI could accomplish very quickly. So I thought I'd share a few of the things that I've done, just as an example of what you can accomplish. Everybody's, let's see. Let's see. That's not the screen. Uh, let's see. All right, everybody see this?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. All right, so this was Ian came to me and said we needed a way to get shop layouts in a PDF form to be able to share for a project we're working on. And I started looking around, at Fusion and SketchUp, and I was trying to find the most simple 3D, CAD type program that I could find, and this needed to be accessible to someone who didn't have any experience doing CAD at all. So, looking into those, I found that even just to make a simple layout of a room, um, was going to require more research and learning on the side of the user than was necessary for the project. Basically, we needed to have rectangles and circles and walls and doors and that type of thing. So I started to talking to Claude about the possibilities, and this is after some back and forth. This is where we came up. There's still have a few tweaks to do, but you can see here I've got a basic room dimension uh, input, so you can lay out the size of your shop. You have scrolling via the mouse. You can have rectangles and circles to represent machines in your shop. So if I needed to add a rectangle here, I can move it around, tilt it, change the label. Okay, can do things like add walls. Let's see, we're going to add a door. We're going to make it, a representation of the swing of the door, etc. It's got the ability to download work in progress and upload work in progress if the user wanted to come back, save it as a PDF. I've got the undo and redo like you might find in a, in a typical CAD program. And I was pretty blown away that this was within the capabilities of this, and this is all run as an HTML page. Yeah, and then on the simpler side, I made some programs that are calculators for things that I do regularly. I have kind of a different way of doing my nut calculation where I actually place the outside strings, and then I want to calculate all the strings from those points. So this is a calculator that will just very quickly do that type of thing for me. It has pre-programmed with the standard gauges of strings, and then I can input a custom set, and it will calculate. And this type of thing is very easy to do on a ChatGPT or Claude type program. And then another one that I was surprised that it was capable of doing. This is I pretty frequently make dowels, either straight dowels or tapered dowels, on the CNC machine for plugging holes. And I used to draw them up in Fusion, make a grid array, work out the G code for each of them. And it was a fairly in-depth process. Each time I wanted a different size plug. But the methodology is always the same. I always put my starting point at the same point on the material. So what I did was I uploaded a sample of my G code, and I said, this is a sample of the G code. Will you make a web page that enables me to make these dowels, but input the number in a grid array, the length and the width and the height, etc. As very simple controls. I'm almost always using the same size end mills, so I just have an 1/8, a 3/16, and a 1/4. It has some advanced settings for speed control, and I can just go with the default if I want and just hide them like that. And this will output a G code that will generate these without me ever having to go into Fusion, and it saves a ton of time. And so I have one there for a regular and then a tapered dowel. So that, that's a lot of the reason why I go to ChatGPT is just to solve something that's a process related that I think could go quicker.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's applicable in probably lots of shops. Watching Michael Bashkin and Massimiliano talk about multi-scale instruments and the number of calculators involved in that, it just made me think, oh, there's a real opportunity to to make some accessible public calculators based on a lot of that information.
James, I think you've touched on a really key aspect of this, and all of the examples you showed are phenomenal. And what's in common with that is you have a very specific thing you want to accomplish, and you know upfront what you want to do, regardless of whether you had the G code to provide. The point I'm making is, if you have a specific and clear sense of what you want to get done, and it's task oriented like this, that's where these tools really can be a real gold mine in terms of time savings once you understand how they work. So I think, to your point, this is the exact way to start thinking about it. If you're not sure how to get involved in using these tools, start out with something small that you want to do, and say, hey, if I ask someone to do this, how would I ask them to do this? And let me give that a try. And you can work through that in a stepwise manner. You might be surprised how quickly you can get to a fairly decent place doing that. But knowing what you want to accomplish very clearly is critical.
Yes. Yeah. Ian, did you have a question?
Yeah, I want to jump in and maybe share some of my workflow on this. one of the things that I think is underestimated in ChatGPT is the tiers of memory. So you've got some stuff that goes into global memory that's for all. How many people here are using projects and chats? Is anybody not using projects?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got global memory, you've got project memory, and then you've got chat memory. And we've all experienced where we've clogged up a chat and had to produce a handoff doc to another chat, right? Has anybody bogged a chat down or not bogged a chat down? Okay.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff can be used. And one of the things I do is I've got a template for myself going in the global memory, for instance. Whenever I start a project, ChatGPT is instructed to go, hey, you're starting a project, and ChatGPT and I have already agreed upon a kind of a battery of questions that it's going to ask me to start the project to kind of get the scope narrowed down and focused. So it isn't just like, hey, I want to make an app to do something. And then it goes, okay, let's make an app to do something. And then all of a sudden you've got like that deal with the devil where, a bunch of unexpected things come up because you didn't nail down all of the specific questions. So if you instruct ChatGPT, like, hey, if you detect that I'm starting a project, ask me this battery of questions to clarify things, it's gonna do a really good job of asking questions. So for my workflow, definitely like I'm doing less asking questions of it and asking it to ask questions of me in order to clarify everything. Clarify. And then before I hit render that HTML or render that PHP, I ask it one more time. Are there any questions that you feel would be, germane to this that would nip any little gotchas in the bud? So for like, if you're going to use this for business stuff too, ChatGPT has voice recognition now. And so like if I'm going out for a run or I'm going to work out or something like that, I put my headphones and I'm talking to it and I go, okay, let's talk global memory. Let's talk about the Looth group. And then it will start at, like we're in this constant conversation where I'm telling it what's going on, who are the members of the organization, all of this stuff. So it's compiling all of this data into, one big idea about what the Looth group is. So when I go, hey, I've got this idea for this, it knows a little bit about you, James, and I'm sorry about that. But we can talk about who would be the right fit for this project. It's connected to the calendar. I can say like put a reminder in there that I need to talk to James about this, whatever. But I'm basically giving it this broad overview of what I'm up to, so that it can ask me questions about what I want to do, and I can give it ideas about what I want to do, and not have to start from scratch every time in a project. This project is for the Looth group. No, the Looth group's too big for project level. So anyway.
Yeah. Well,
is anybody else doing that?
Oh yeah, big time.
I do it to an extent. I've had some, like I said, sometimes I'll export kind of like a prompt file, that's like, and I mean, you could honestly use that from going from one chat agent to a total other, just like if you had it kind of break it down. Because I've had that problem where, you kind of get too far in a chat and it'll start to forget things that you were talking about. And it's like, hey, let's get the real bones like ironed out here, like what our rules are.
Yeah. What Buck just hit on there is actually, that's the crux of using an AI chatbot. It's called the context window, and it's how much it can hold in its head. Basically, it's short-term memory, kind of like your image there, Ian. It's like their short-term memory, but it's even more like nuanced than that. It likes stuff typically near the end or near the beginning, rather than in the middle. And because it's looking at this whole chat chain, you can kind of, what I call it, poisoning the context by having something that's not correct in there, even if like you're correcting something they said, it can go back and it can pull that wrong bit of poison context out. So one of the tricks that I like with ChatGPT, Gemini doesn't let you do it. I can't remember if Claude does, but you can go back and edit your like messages. And so if it says anything that you don't want potentially to poison something down the line, you edit your message and get it to spit something else out, because it'll ruin your shit. It'll ruin your day when you're not expecting it.
One other thing too is, I'm sorry, Ted, this is a non sequitur. What you said was awesome, but get used to using them side by side. So Claude charges per, or you run out of tokens, so it's really limited and it's really good at coding. ChatGPT not so much. It's really good at like talking about big overviews. So talk about what you want to produce in ChatGPT. Tell it you're working with Claude. Say, I'm working on this project. Can we button down all of the ideas in this project? And then once you button them all down, say, hand me a handoff document to take to Claude, and then take your handoff document into Claude and fire that up. And it's going to work pretty good. Is anybody here working with Codex in ChatGPT?
I don't like it. Claude Code's way better.
It does. What I'll do is I'll take Claude stuff and then basically populate a local.
Have you used Claude since they released Claude Code? Because it's holy shit sort of coding.
I don't think
it makes Codex look like little baby toys.
So is Code, does that run in like VS Code, or?
You can run it in VS Code. You can run it in terminal. You can run it in your browser. Yeah, you've got options, but it's so good. You can link it up into your GitHub, like Codex and stuff, and it'll push PRs for you. But it is, I've been messing with this stuff since it came out, and it blows my mind. It is, Claude Code is so good. It's absolutely, if you want to do coding projects or experiment with it, it's where I'd put my $20 a month, because they're all $20 a month. That's where I'd put my $20 a month, is into Anthropic's Claude right now if I wanted to do coding. But another fun tip is, if you bounce around, like I do cycle through like people do streaming services. I do that with the whatever's got the new hot model that I want to play with. They'll give you free months because they're all fighting each other. They all want to be your walled garden. So if you can develop some way to hand things off, like Ian was talking about, it'll really help you out when you're, trying to save $20 a month, that sort of thing.
Oh, cool.
That lets you use a free model too, if you have like something you can feed to it, and basically you can have your memory stored locally, and then you just tell it, okay, here's where we are, and then you pick up, and you can run on a free model, and you get a lot of the benefits of the memory with Addis.
Yeah. I was surprised at how it would suggest features for things like, I did an Arduino project where I made a dividing head with a servo, a stepper motor, and I told it what I wanted to do, and it said, well, would you like it to do this? And I said, oh, that sounds amazing. Let's do that too. And, that at that point, my mind sort of exploded. So do you think, I don't know how many people here haven't used it. It seems like there's a lot of people who have done it. Do you think doing a quick live code would be of interest? So
Ted,
people
you want to work on my Patreon plugin for me? I'm making a plugin for the website, by the way.
I was thinking of doing something super simple so that we could get a quick output that.
What, do you have a requirements like document for it? Like
No,
what you want it to
nothing. Just going in cold. Does someone have something that they would like to demonstrate, or should I pull up Claude and just start fresh? It sounds like you guys have some back end information that, I usually just start chatting.
If you give it a like, here's what I want from the get-go thing, kind of either talk it through, pseudocode it with me, or like, here's my project plan, like you're the project manager and you're handing it down to the dev team.
I was thinking something simple like make a web page that calculates shellac pound cut based on an inputted amount of shellac, and just to give a
You can do
a
better
quick
than that.
idea. Uh, let's see. Should I pull it up? Let's do it.
Hey, have any of you played with NAN, the N8N, like AI automation kind of stuff?
I don't trust it.
I hear you.
I don't trust it. I think it's neat, but
Is
it's
this
not in any of
Claude?
my workflows.
This is Claude.
Is this you, James? Is this you, James?
Yeah, this is me. And
Do you pay for Claude,
one
Jamie?
important question: are you guys very polite to your AI?
Oh yeah.
I mean, because I don't know why, but
I
I have to say please and thank you and all those things.
I used to be, but right back to that context window thing. Every please, thank you, yada 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 is wasted context.
Okay.
And it genuinely doesn't care if you are nice to it.
Well, it says it.
Well,
can.
Don't be rude because it'll get defensive. But if you're just like, curt with it,
Okay. Good
it'll
enough.
be curt back, and you'll save on that context window. And you can put
Okay.
it actually in the memory. It's a little kind of meta trick. Put that you prefer responses to be, tight and concise while containing all necessary and relevant information, something like that. And it'll respond tighter, and your context window is, not
Would you-
really bigger, but it's effectively bigger.
Like, would you do that just here as an instruction, or would you do that in a?
Usually as a system instruction.
Okay.
But
Cool.
do you pay for Claude, Jamie?
I do.
Type in Claude Code in Google and go to the Claude Code website. Or
Okay, all right.
Claude.ai/new.
All right.
This
Let
is
me.
what I got.
Is,
The Claude Code thing's sweet.
is Claude
you,
Code a separate subscription, or is it tied into your?
It's the $20 or whatever gets you into Claude Code.
Do you want to bring yours up, Ted, or
I can.
So
you feel
wait
like
a
doing
second. Does Claude Code? Do you log into it with your same Claude credentials?
Yeah, it's just Claude. But hold on, let me pull it up.
I'm confused.
It's just oriented more in a way that hold on, I gotta find which tab I'm at. Okay.
Hey, you know what? Maybe I'm already in Claude Code.
All right, so like Claude Code is its own little thing, sort of.
okay?
Like I threw BenchMuse at it to see what kind of performance optimizations it could do, because I'm just playing around with it now.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. So like it's gone through it. I'm just working with implementing the 2-course thing for the string spacer. But if we do a new project, oops. The zoom overlay is breaking things.
Okay.
Go away. All right. Let's build a version of Space Invaders with Martin D18s invading Earth, and we're a Luthier shooting threat files. First, let's pseudocode and explore potential avenues for improvement or places we might get hung up. That was kind of like my starter. Like if I'm going in way cold. All right, don't ask me.
What was the URL you went to for this?
It's pod.ai/code. But you can hook it up to your GitHub so you can have version control which is the biggest problem with doing it in the chat window, is you don't have any version control. And if it decides it's going to radically change your code somewhere, you have to go scroll back and find the last bit of working code. And Claude will just interact with GitHub and push pull requests and things like that. So it's really, really cool.
Is that saving you tokens because it doesn't have to go back?
But it's part of the Claude subscription, so it's I'm rate limited at some amount, but like I'm not doing hardcore coding with this.
But you have to connect to GitHub for it, right?
I don't think you would have to. I just think you should.
It's onboarding is telling me to connect to GitHub.
I would connect to GitHub, but that's just because I think version control is super important. If it's like the document save history, that sort of thing is a way to think about version control. But here, like I fed it that, and first it's looking through my whole code base because I forgot to change the project. But it's actually looking through my code, and I have a Space Invaders thing that I coded with Tom Dahlia's face. So
that's right. I remember
it'll
that.
probably
That was a
steal
while
that.
ago.
So here we go. It just spit out this basically perfect document for what we need to do. So we've got our structure. We have, like, how wide is the canvas? So these are things that I don't know about. I'm not a game developer, right? We need to know how big the canvas is, how big the screen that it's going to display on, like how big are the guitars, how big is the player, how fast do they move, all these things. Spits it out. Sure, that looks like it makes sense. Where's the player going to be? He's got an X and a Y coordinate, so that's where he is. We have how wide it is, height, whatever. And so you can look through it, and this makes more sense to look at as a human than the actual code that it's going to spit out. We have now potential challenges, that sort of thing. We want to get real crazy. I don't actually care about any of that, so let's go. Give me a working HTML and JavaScript versions. And Claude Code will just do it to a level that I've never experienced with the AI coding. Like I said, if I was deciding today where to put my $20 for the month into which AI tool, it would be that one. And it's I don't know. Go on YouTube and just look at how much people are gushing about it, and you'll kind of get the I don't know. I'm speechless sometimes with how good it is.
It's actually letting me down right now, but
You're letting it down.
it's probably right. What so with Claude, with bigger projects, do you have it like tackle do you have it tackle it in a certain way? Like, do you say set up the file paths and show me files first?
Well, I don't know. I come from a different place than I think most of you do when it comes to programming. Like, I come from actually programming, so I know how things are supposed to be structured and stuff, and I don't have to think about it as explicitly, I guess. Like I suppose it would help to I don't know to why now it's going to sound like we're programming, but this really, like I was saying before we started, like it's kind of a paradigm shift in programming. If you just learn the basics of what goes into a website, which is you've got an HTML page as your bones basically, and then you've got JavaScript is doing all the fun, cool stuff in the background. 98% of the time, that's what we're working with on the web right now. Once you understand, like, just make a folder with the HTML page and the JavaScript in it, You can run that HTML file from any computer anywhere, and you can put it on any server anywhere and run it. It's intimidating but easy, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
You just have to spend a little time learning the structure of it. I don't know if that answers the question or if I rambled too much.
So it's really like you put it on the server and you point your Nginx or Apache at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you literally dump like
that becomes your what,
Yeah.
root folder, or not
So-
root folder, but your
so this is, you know, we're on my desktop, string spacer version 2. That's my little Patreon image thing on BenchMuse, my style sheet, my index.html, and the logic for the JavaScript. And let's see, what are you seeing? Still you're probably still seeing the same thing.
Yes, sir.
I hate screen share. Yeah, but I just double clicked on that HTML file that's running. You know, it's just sitting on my desktop, and I have my fully working version of the beta of what string spacer is already on the real website. Yeah, with 2 course action now. But yeah, that was something that I pseudo coded in jury duty and just threw it at Claude the other day.
Let's try and do the Shellac calculator. I'm going to pull up my Claude, and I want this to be sort of like if someone's completely new, it's never logged in, kind of a starting spot. So all conversational, and so let me share. All right, does everybody see that?
Yep.
All right, this is just be your normal chat wing, none of the specialized coding environment or anything. So if we were to say, I want to make an HTML page that allows users to calculate a shellac pound cut. Let's see, a 1 pound cut would be 1 pound of shellac to 1 gallon of alcohol. I would like to talk through the project before coding. I would like the user to be able to enter the amount of shellac they have and calculate the appropriate amount of alcohol. I would like the user to be able to switch between imperial and metric measurements. What other information do you need to know? The user should be able to specify the pound cut they like. 2 pounds shellac to 1 gallon alcohol for a 2 pound cut, etc. Well, let's just see what it comes back with. All right, is that readable?
Yep.
So it says input output details for the shellac input. What units you want available? 1 ounces and grams, comma like that. Ounces and grams. Good. If I could type, that would be great. For alcohol output, gallons, quarts, ounces. Imperial, let's do ounces. And let's do milliliters. 3. Should users be able to reverse the calculation? Sure. Do you want the drop down with common pound cuts? Yes. Drop down with common cuts. Should the calculation happen live as they type or a calculate button? Where are we? I don't know what number we're on. 5. What's the typical range? 1 to 5 pound cuts. So, hang on. 5, 1 to 3 pound cuts. Number 6 was, should the calculation happen live? Yes. Yes, live. 7, do you want to display the ratio formula being used so users understand the math? Sure. 8. Any preference of the visual layout? Single column form, side by side inputs and outputs. Let's do side by side. And then would a dilution calculator be useful? No. Okay, so then it just gives a basic layout for what we talked about. It has a few more questions. When they switch between imperial metric, should it convert? Yes, convert the existing values. 2, how should we handle which fields is active for calculation? Whichever was typed in last, or radio buttons to select. I'm starting with Shellac. We'll do radio buttons. Any color scheme preferences?
Just because it's jargon, a radio button is the round one that you can only select one of versus a checkbox, which is multiple. Knowing what a radio button is helps when you're dealing
Sure.
with the code stuff because they use that term.
Absolutely. Okay, so yes, build it.
One of the things I think that still happens with Claude when you're doing it in the chat window like that, Jamie, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes you can ask it to pop out an applet or something. I forget what it was called. Effectively it's Canvas thing. And you can share that little applet with other people. So you don't actually have to know how to set up a website or something to potentially share it. I don't remember if I haven't coded through the chatbot in a while.
This usually gives me the ability to just download it to the desktop as an HTML file, and you can just open it up in Chrome from the desktop. Okay, so this is what it created, and then I can open it up in. Let's see. Sorry, I'm gonna share my. I just opened it up in Chrome, so I'm gonna share my Chrome. Okay, so this is what we got. So if we want to do a 1 pound cut, let's just say we had 16 ounces of. Okay, so I would look at this and say, well, I mean, it's functioning the way it should. I mean, I think it's pretty impressive that it can just, generate that on the spot. And then you could go back at this point and say, well, I like this about it. I don't like this about it. And just continue to refine that web page until it's doing, performing the way you'd like it to perform.
Yeah. So Jamie, go back to that chat and ask it if it will make an applet from that for you.
All right.
Because I think it will.
Let's see.
You can then, I think they call them artifacts, I think. And then you can like publish the artifact or whatever. They've all got weird jargon for everything.
So I should put, can you create an artifact from this?
Yeah, let's give it a whirl. Because I'm pretty sure it can do that. So like the big issue that all of the AI companies are running into with the vibe coding stuff is kind of related to what I was talking about with GitHub. It's that non-coders don't understand Git or version control really. And there's not a good way to store and share things around for people who don't have an understanding of how web servers work.
I see.
So that's what they're really trying to lick right now is, that sort of shareability. I think that'll happen in the next year. We're going to see some sort of like GitHub competitor from one of the, AI IDEs or whatever. Like
so you won't have to
or something.
You won't have to go through the uploading process and
like Git is very 90s and very Linus Torvaldsy. And so so it looks like it's done.
Okay, and so how does this differ from?
So if you click on that, it should pop out the artifact that's there on the right that you can copy. So click on the arrow down next to copy there.
Yeah.
Publish artifact.
Okay.
And
So
you can now make a link and you can share that little calculator with people without having to deal with any of that web server or shipping files around or anything like that.
So what is that? That's publishing to Git right now?
No, it's just their own little world, but
so you've got
it's what they're pecking at. That somebody's going to make something that's it.
Is there an expiration date to those links?
I don't know. I don't use them, but I know you can do it.
Okay.
Let's just
James,
publish it and see.
James, do you have VS Code on your
copy
computer?
that link, and any one of us can now use the Shellac calculator that you just made. If you send that link.
All right. It's not fully tested. It's beta. So.
And then I don't know if anyone saw the links that I was posting, which I can post all those. I was using just tiny URL, and there's other competitors to that just to shorten the link for sharing it. So if you're ever trying to create something, there's, like tiny URLs, one, it's free, and basically you can just take a long string of a link and make it so it's something you can just like repeat and, someone can write down easy.
Yes.
Ian,
you were asking about VS Code?
Yeah, do you have VS Code? I would mind if Ted could show you how to hook Claude into VS Code. That would be amazing for me.
Just type in Claude Code into Google, and their webpage has the like step-by-step on it. That's going to be way better than anything I can do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can do it in the terminal too, which is badass.
But yeah, I mean that seems like it would really
it's if you're using an IT, you fancy yourself a programmer at that point. And effectively you are.
Because one thing that ChatGPT and Claude will both do is if you have to make a minor change, it'll actually prompt you to make a change within the code, and then you're suddenly a programmer.
Honestly, that's the way it worked in the manual days too. Like the way I learned to write shitty code was by looking at other people's shitty code and changing a few things. And like, that's all we did. That's all the entire developer world did. it's Stack Exchange. If you look at Stack Exchange,
Yeah.
they're pretty much dead now. But that was where everyone asked for help. Like, I can't get my code to work. Will you make it work for me?
Yeah.
So it's always kind of been like this, like nobody knows what they're doing. The more you dig into how the internet's built, the more scared it makes you. Everything's toothpicks and duct tape.
Well,
Are you talking about Stack Overflow?
Yeah, Stack Exchange, Stack Overflow.
Dude, before
It's
the-
like it's dead.
it's totally dead. You know, you know what else is dead is Amazon's shitty documentation for AWS. Like, I just went through a bunch of stuff for getting IAM stuff that I could never figure out with AWS's documentation. So ChatGPT, give me a step-by-step list. And if I ran into a UI that was different, I just took a screenshot of it and said, what do you make of this screenshot? And I was like, oh, their UI has changed. Push this button, you know?
Yeah,
Crazy. Something I would have never intuited going through AWS's system too. Like, I was through it in 30 minutes.
yeah. Well, I think the ability to do screenshots, we hadn't really talked about that, but the ability to take a screenshot and upload it and say, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I'm seeing. Can you help me? And quite frequently, it'll look at the picture and say, oh, I see what your problem is, and offer a solution.
Try right now taking a screenshot of a website that has a different style, and then
Okay.
upload that screenshot and say, I like this. Can you change the CSS to make my calculator look like this?
Okay, I'll take a screenshot of the Dowel one I was looking at earlier with a black background. All right.
it's really good for style sheets. That's like the bane of my existence with my. I don't want to cast any false illusions like I'm a master developer or anything like that. I write shitty code. But CSS is awful. That's what makes the things look the right way, and it's just sucks to write. And having the AI bots write it for you it just makes me smile every time.
So I'm gonna put I like the functionality, but I would like the UI to look
You are
like
so light.
this. Am I messing it up?
No, you're just very polite. I would just say change the style.
I don't want it mad at me.
Oh, one other thing. I'm working on a bigger project that's going to be done in sections. And so one of the things I've been doing is changing the way that it writes comments. I'm like, make sure the comments are clear for a layperson, and put a number on the very left-hand side. So if I need to append or change any code, I can find it easily. That's been a huge time saver. That way it doesn't wind
Like
up
line numbers.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to re-render the stupid thing because I can't find, re-render a whole block of PHP because I can't, figure out where one small section is.
Okay, so I said I like the functionality, but I would like the UI to look like this. And so it'll go and do it again.
Yeah, all that box styling, border box, opacity, display grid, flex box, all of that nonsense is terrible to do by yourself. You can never get it right. And that one of the common arguments against using AI to code, that comes from a lot of people, is that you could pay somebody to do that, like, that's a job. But those people are absolutely going to do this. Like, you're going to pay them, manual labor rates, and they're going to do that. So it's something to be aware of.
Yeah. I think that, a lot of this stuff is things that we would use, but what we couldn't afford to pay people to generate.
Yeah, it really democratizes a lot of the coding stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, this is a simple thing. There's probably several of these on the internet. We probably don't need another one, but I think lots of people have great ideas that could benefit from.
Well,
it's like Buck's fretwire thing.
Yeah.
You see a poster or something and you're like, man, I wish I could interact with that poster. And guess what? Now you can. So-
Yeah, and that was the thing. It's like it's nothing that nobody like needed. It's nothing that would have ever existed. It's just like, hey, that would be cool. I would never pay someone to make it ever. And I wouldn't be able to code it myself either.
Yeah.
But
Well, and you
it's
wouldn't
nice
want
that
to
it
take the
exists
time
now.
to do the research on all of that stuff either, right? Like it
Yeah.
helps you, like it put in the way that the Looth group kind of centralizes a lot of that disparate information. You get like somebody can add a fret wire to the fret wire thing, and then now everybody benefits from that expanded thing. Not every single person didn't have to independently go, oh, there's a new fret wire out from whoever. Like it's there. It's in,
Look, did we get your calculator on the website?
I think we did at one point. I don't know how easy it
I'm
is
gonna
to
make
find.
I'm gonna make a whole new custom post type for apps because they're coming in hot and heavy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, having like a tool page could be cool, like just like useful links because we're starting to get a good amount.
Yeah.
slap them
think
all on
that would be
BenchMuse
good.
website. I'll just point the Looth group link to it.
Speaking of, do you want to show BenchMuse and talk a little bit about the functionality?
I can. It's
That'd be
I
great.
don't do much with it anymore. I'm working on the 2-course thing because I promised a couple people I would do that 2 years ago and I didn't.
Well,
So
I like the compound calculator. I use that pretty frequently.
yeah, that was another Doug Proper idea. He seems to be the genesis of a lot of
Yes.
ideas.
And I've seen a few others that like I've heard him talk about like some of his setup methods, and I'm like, that's a different way of thinking about that. Like even just like his intonation and like if it's this many cents, you move the saddle that much. Like
Uh-huh.
that might be kind of a cool tool.
Yeah. So like this is for those of you who know me, I have always kind of been the techie guy. I tried to push 3D printing on all of you, probably too early for most of you, and I again tried to push coding on all of you, maybe a little too early with the BenchMuse stuff. But the idea was like it's all here, and all of the code is it's all commented well. Go to the JavaScript page. It's all well commented. It's intended to be consumed and understood if you wanted to do anything. But basically, it was just little tools, like things that annoyed me, like going between metric and an SAE. A million calculators out there. I don't like pressing buttons. I just want to do the minimum amount of work, and so I just made this dumb one, which is like whatever 1 and 11/16, and it just spits out all the things that I would want, and so I just find the one I want. But what I like the most about it is that it'll approximate fractions. That's my favorite part of the whole thing. So like if you put in like 1.468 or something like that inches, it's going to approximate it to 1530 seconds on the ruler. So if you have a decimal measurement that you need to find your closest thing on an actual ruler, you're not using calipers for some reason, that's something it can do. And it was just an experiment to try and do fake natural language stuff. So it should take any way you can input it. And it's not using any AI or anything. It's just dumb rules programmed in, so you can see all of the rules in the code. Then there's the string spacer, which is pretty much identical to what Jamie had going on in his little thing. Which working on version 2 here, which has the 2-course functionality now for mandolins and stuff. Because if you didn't know, your SNUMAC ruler is not right. It's close, but it's wrong. So the string spacer does that. The compound radius that Jamie was just talking about, you can put in, whatever your your radius is, start and end radius, and it'll punch out the radius of all the frets at each fret position so that you can kind of rough approximate what you're bending at. And it'll also spit out the saddle radius, which is something that almost everybody gets wrong when they set up a compound radius saddle on an acoustic or otherwise, I guess. That cone projects out. It isn't just the radius at the end of the fingerboard. So that's what that does. And then this was my very first attempt at AI coding. This was right when Claude developed the ability to do stuff. I don't recommend anyone use it. It's just a visualizer to help a friend of mine understand kind of why their guitar was slapping. But it's just a little like visualizer thing, and you can adjust your truss rod and level out your frets so that you can just kind of see what's happening when you fret a note. But they're just dumb little tools, and like Buck was saying, it's cool to be able to take something and make it a thing. And that's something that I've always thought, even before the AI tools could do it for me. Like I was like, oh, what dumb thing can I do that makes my life just that one little bit better? Or I can avoid doing this extra step for the rest of my life. And I think that's where the value, where the value comes in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here today. Thank you, Buck and Dom and Ted and Ian for all throwing comments in and showing your work. Does anybody have any questions?
David Collins, you want to come in and
Play Fret Fighter?
have you heard enough? Is Fret Fighter ready? We can.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
It is. We'll have to see who gets the high score.
I'm already on level 3.
It was just that one shot, so I have not updated anything else at all. That is exactly what it spit out, and
I'll put it on the web.
I just put it on BenchMuse just so that you could play it, but it's.
I haven't used Claude before, and I think after all these conversations, I'm going to potentially try migrating subscriptions for a little bit.
It's awesome.
It
I
looks
really
pretty
recommend it. Just for, I think Codex can do version control or can tie into Git because Microsoft owns GitHub, so that kind of all makes sense. But Claude does it very elegantly. The guy who wrote Claude code wrote it as a side project, and it's one of those things like Gmail started as some guy's side project. So it's incredible. He built it because he wanted that for him. And it turns out that what he wanted for himself is what everyone needed. And it's really cool.
All right.
I'm not affiliated with Claude at all. I own some Amazon stock, but
Well, that's cool. I'm gonna go figure out how to connect Claude and VS Code because I think that'll speed things up. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Nice to be able to say like, hey, read through my code and find bugs, optimize this garbage for me.
Yeah.
Especially if you're vibe coding the whole thing, or if you're just a bad coder like me. Like there are all kinds of mistakes in code that you don't see and they don't present themselves until they do.